Hello and welcome. Today we are doing some real live sure enough algebra because we said last time that algebraic expressions are expressions that have variables in them like x or m or y or s, but the big deal in algebra is trying to find out what the variable stands for. So what does x equal or m equal or s equal? And today we're going to take our first step in solving those kinds of problems. We're only going to solve problems that involve addition or subtraction. So this won't be too difficult, but I want us to lay a foundation. I want you to lay a foundation of really good habits by following some real simple instructions so that in the future, and so get this, you're going to solve equations that look so much more difficult than this, so much more complicated than these do later on. And the truth of the matter is that you could solve these ones just by thinking about it for a few minutes and you'd be fine. Seriously, you would be fine. But I want you to practice doing two things. And the first one is to show your work, show what you're doing, show what you're thinking. And the way I want you to think about them is this. The addition property says that if you have two things that are equal, okay, so we have an equation, that means this is an equation. Let's see if I can make my equation spelled properly. Equation, it's not an equation unless it has an equal sign. So before we were just simplifying expressions, but now we're going to solve. We're going to solve the equation, which means what does x equal? Okay, well in this case it's what does y equal? Or what does s equal? We're trying to figure out what value for the unknown number fits in there. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're just going to guess and check. We're just going to try some things. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to answer this question. Is 9 a solution? If we plug 9 in for y, would that make this true? Let's try it. So if y minus 2 equals 7, is it true that if you replace the y with a 9, 9 minus 2 equals 7? Is that true? And the answer is, it sure is. 9 minus 2 is 7, so that is true. Therefore, 9 is a solution. So we'll say that 9 is a solution. So a couple of ways we can write this. We can say it that way, that's fine. Or we could say y equals 9. Or we could say a set of numbers that includes 9 is what y equals. Y can be replaced with any of these numbers, including, and the only number there is 9. Okay. Now, that is one method, and it's really tempting to go with this method at this stage because it's easy. You can do this in your head. You can say, oh yes, it works. But here's the way I want you to solve these. When you have a problem, s minus 7 equals 15, you're going to write the problem, you're going to write it clearly. And then you're going to add the same thing to both sides. And what you're going to add is whatever is on the side with the s, that will get rid of that number there. So the number there is negative 7. What can I add to get rid of negative 7? And of course I'm going to just add the opposite, positive 7. And if I add the addition property of equality says if I add a 7 to the left side, I have to add a 7 to the right side. And so from now on out, every time you say an equation, there's some addition going on or subtraction, you want to get rid of it, you add the opposite. You show yourself that that's what you're doing by putting the little plus 7 underneath each side. And then we just simplify. S minus 7 plus 7, well, negative 7 plus 7 is 0, and s plus 0 is s. And 15 plus 7, well, that's easy, that's 22. And looky there, my answer just appears. S equals 22. I didn't have to be thinking about what does s equal, what does s equal. I just added 7 to both sides, and when I did, I got s on the left side, an equal sign, and then 22 on the right side. And that's it, that's my answer. However, I want you to do one more thing, and that is to go back to your original equation and check your answers. So you're going to take your original equation, you write s minus 7 equals 15, and then do what we did in the last problem where we take out the s and replace it with a 22. 22 minus 7 equals 15. And you can do that on a calculator, you can do it on your fingers, but whatever you do, if it comes out to be true, then you know your answer is correct. So the answer is not 15 equals 15. The answer has nothing to do with 15. The answer is s equals 22. But the check there is a key part of knowing that we did this right. And the great news about equations is you can always be sure you got it right as long as you check your answer. Let's try those steps again with number 3. We're going to start out with f plus 4 equals negative 6. Now on the side with the f, I have a plus 4. And how do I get rid of plus 4? Well, the opposite of plus 4 would be minus 4. If I'm going to add negative 4 to one side, I have to add negative 4 to the other side. And then I end up with f plus 4 minus 4 is plus 0. F plus 0 is f. F equals negative 6 minus 4 is negative 10. And you can see that we are practicing our skills of adding and subtracting signed numbers. F equals negative 10. And now let's check it. F plus 4 equals negative 6. Well, I think f is negative 10. Negative 10 plus 4 equals negative 6. Well, the signs are different, so I subtract. 10 minus 4 is 6. I keep the sign of the stronger number. Negative 10 is stronger than positive 4 because it's further from 0. So negative 6, and that is the answer. That's true. So I checked my work, but the answer is f equals negative 10. Okay, let's do some really quickly here. Each one of these is going to have a little trick to them, but I want you to try it yourself first and see how you do. So hit pause and try these yourself. What's the trick on number 4? Well, the first trick is that y is on the wrong side. And that's okay. We can deal with that. We just look on the side with the y, the unknown value, and we ask ourselves what's being done to the variable there, and what's being done to y. It's being added 7, so we're going to add the opposite, negative 7, to both sides. We're going to add negative 7 to both sides. We're allowed to do that because negative 7 equals negative 7. If I add negative 7 to both sides, they're still in balance, they're still equal. 7 minus 7 is 0, plus y is y. And 1 minus 7 is negative 6. So if you're more comfortable with this, you can rearrange it and say y equals negative 6. I like that better. But it's no problem if the variable is on the right-hand side of the equation. It's no big deal. Let's go ahead and check our work. 1 equals negative 6 plus 7. Well, it's true that negative 6 and 7 are opposites, so they're going to subtract. 7 minus 6 is 1. And we'll keep the strongest side of the stronger number. The one that's furthest away from 0 is 7. So 1 equals 1, which is true. All right. Let's do number 5. We are tempted on number 5 to just do what we've been doing. There's an x on the left-hand side, plus 7. Let's get rid of that by subtracting 7. Subtracting 7. But then we notice that the right-hand side's got a whole bunch of stuff going on there. 2 plus 3. And it's probably a better idea to simplify out that bit before we try to solve the equation. So I'm going to write 2 plus 3 is 5. And that makes my problem just a little bit more simple. Now I can subtract 7 from both sides. It won't be as confusing. 7 minus 7 is 0, plus x is x. 5 minus 7, well, we'll subtract because the signs are different. 7 minus 5 is 2. And we'll keep the sign of the stronger number, negative 7. Stronger than positive 5. And there we have it. X equals negative 2. Now let's plug this back in. Negative 2 plus 7 equals 2 plus 3. Well, negative 2 plus 7, signs are different. We subtract, that's 5. Sign of the stronger number, positive. 2 plus 3 is 5. And it works. This is true. It's a true statement, so therefore x equals negative 2 is true as well. Okay, last one. This one's a little bit tricky. We have we're putting it all together here. We have 7 minus negative 10. There's no x involved there, and that is absolutely something that we can do. We can do 7 minus negative 10. Minus negative is plus, so 7 plus 10 is 17. On the right-hand side of the equal sign, we have x minus 5. We can't do anything with that, but notice that this is an equation now. There's an x. We want to know what x equals, but what's being done to x is minus 5, so we're going to add the opposite to both sides. This is the addition property of equality. It allows us to add the same thing to both sides of the equal sign, and when we do that, we say that no change has been made in the values. They're still equal. So x equals 17 plus 5, which is 22. And if you want to, we can turn that around and say x equals 22, reading left to right. It's more natural for us. And then we'll go back and we'll rewrite the problem. So we had 7 minus negative 10 equals 22 minus 5. Well, 7 minus negative is plus, so 7 plus 10 is 17. 22 minus 5, well, signs are different, we're going to subtract. 22 minus 5 is 17, keep the sign of the stronger number, and looky there, it worked. So x does indeed equal 22. Thank you so much for watching. Let me give you one last piece of advice. Do as many practice problems as you have available to you to check your work. In fact, you can do the ones that you don't have the answers to because you can always check your own work, but you definitely want to practice this until it is second nature. This is only the first of many steps that we will use to solve equations. Thanks for watching.